America is spiritually Rome, but it's also known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt, and it is known in the Bible as Babylon the Great. All praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And this lesson is going to be entitled America is Spiritually Rome. And you're in the current Roman Empire, which is America, Babylon the Great, NATO, and the EU. Now, what sparked this lesson? All right, there was a image. This image was sent to me by the brother, or from the brother, Kassad, the head of the GMS Northwest Camp, which is out there in Seattle, Washington. For all intents and purposes, GMS Seattle. Anyway, this individual you see on the screen, and this comes from Instagram. Let's go over there and look at it if we can. It's on Instagram. I guess the brother follows Tommy Sotomayor or somebody. And this is the actor known as Shia LaBeouf, or LaBeouf. I don't know how you say his name. But right here it says Shia LaBeouf was spotted on his own set of his new movie, Megalopolis, in Atlanta, Georgia, looking unrecognizable in an ancient Greek, I guess it's going to say gown. And over here, I am Mr. Sotomayor said actor Shia LaBeouf went from Transformers to just trans, LOL. My dude went from Sam Witwicky to Tuck Everlasting. And if you remember the movie Wanted, he was a hitman in the movie. His name was Sam Witwicky in the movie Wanted, which that was a great movie. He was a hitman. And Angelina Jolie was in it too. It says, seems like he took his Transformers role a bit too serious, LOL. And he said, hell, but I could keep going, but how would you caption this photo? And, you know, just to show you where it came from. Now, I just blowed it up. See, I just blowed the image up. Now, when I first looked at this, I thought of a quote that I heard, you know, when you can see the dude. Look at him, man. You know, and whatever role he's playing, you can't, it's hard to recognize him. Whatever role he's playing, he appears to be one of those Roman Caesars or whatever. You know, he got on the nail polish and the damn high heels. Look right here. He got on the espadrilles with the heels and shit, which look like some cross-dressing type of shit. But, you know, it brings a quote to mind, and I did a lesson a few years ago, because Julius Caesar was known as every man's, how was it go? Every woman's husband and every man's wife. Julius Caesar was literally known by his soldiers as that. And that comes a lot of that Roman culture when you go back to the Caesars and Caligula and different people that ruled back in Rome. You hear about those different things, even among the Greeks. Alexander the Greek, you know, we'll touch on some of this stuff briefly. So what happened, it caused me to, look it up. I can give you a little bit of what I'm speaking of. This right here, I Googled it. It says, fascinating history. Julius Caesar's bisexuality. It says, quote, every woman's husband and every man's wife. Thus is Julius Caesar characterized by Curio, according to Suetonius. Julius Caesar was a man of great intensity. He openly enjoyed the company of both men and women, and there were also scandals to go with this. He never hesitated to borrow other noblemen's wives and also lend his own wife, Pompeia. He was notorious for this, and a typical ditty of the time after his triumph in Gaul says, quote, look to your wives, ye citizens, a lesser bald we bring. In Gaul adultery cost thee gold, here 'tis but borrowing. Which means what? It's nasty, man. That's nasty. It's like a little song. You know, when you look at the term leisure, let's look it up. It's freaky people, man. But as you're among these same folks now, a lecherous man, noun. It says a vile, drunken leisure. That's an example. Let's see if we can get more out of this. Let's see if we can't go and look it up. Define leisure. And, you know, it's just some history.
Lecher.
It says a vile, drunken leisure, a lecherous man. What is meant by leisure? A man given to excess, sexual indulgence, a lascivious or licentious man. And if you look at the earth now, what do you see taking over? Wickedness has taken over the earth. And all the people think with this mindset. See, this is how they all think. So let's go back to it. It says, we'll start back right here. He was notorious for this. And a typical ditty of the time, which a ditty is like a song, after his triumph in Gaul says, and Gaul was what? If I'm not mistaken, I think Gaul was France, which is part of what? The original Roman Empire, which the French are also Edomites, just like the Romans. It says, look to your wives, ye citizens, a lesser ball we bring. In Gaul, adultery cost thee gold. Here, 'tis but borrowing. So they're saying, hey, when you in Gaul, you got to pay in order to commit adultery. But there, you can simply just borrow, somebody's mate or spouse, which is nasty as hell. Now it says, yes, he was bald, and although this did not deter him from his conquest, it was a source of constant bother to him, as he was often ridiculed for his baldness by his enemies. Actually, with all the borrowing, he got up to no wonder he made so many enemies. Amongst the ladies he borrowed were Postumia, the wife of Servius Salupcius, Lollia, the wife of Aulus Gabinius, Tertulla, the wife of Marcus Crassus, and Mucia, the wife of Pompey, to name but a few. He married a woman he did not love for the sole purpose of furthering his career. The woman who was closest to him was known as Servilia, the mother of Marcus Brutus. He spent lavishly on her. He once bought her a pearl which cost him 6 million sesterces, which was a great deal of money. It is said that he even had a fling with Servilia's daughter Tertia. Amongst his male lovers, the most well-known was Nemomedes of Bithynia. And you look in the scriptures, you see Bithynia there, right? So you had Jake among them, just like now. They were slaves and servants back then, right? Serving these different empires, just like we are now. And those were the Israelites scattered among these different places who inspired the following ditty. So it says, amongst his male lovers, the most well-known was Nemomedes of Bithynia, who inspired the following ditty. Whatever Bithynia and her lord possessed, her lord whose Caesar in his lust caressed. Whatever Bithynia and her lord possessed, her lord whose Caesar in his lust caressed. Wow. Then you'll have people that come on here and they love to try to make excuses because they know that this was shameful behavior. Now I'll read a little bit of it. It says, Anonymous said, MEH, I think a lot of what get termed sexual slurs on Caesar stem from jealousy and perhaps a certain amount of sour grapes. He was a man who knew how to use sex as a political tool, no pun intended. Blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, the overall point is that these people were freaks, right? And even when you see it now, you see that same lifestyle. Now, this guy here was playing in a movie, but he looked he looked right at home in that shit. To just be honest with you. He looks right at home. And you see a lot of little nasty type of behavior. And you got all these people on the earth behaving in this manner. And there's another one here. I looked it up. It's got a bust on it. Right here it says Julius Caesar, right? Born into one of the original patrician families of Rome around 100 BC, Julius Caesar married a daughter of Lucius Cornelius Cinna in 84 BC. Served in the military 2 years later, acted as a prosecuting advocate in 78 BC. And was on his way to Rhodes when he was captured by pirates. He paid his ransom and crucified his captors. Caesar was elected consul in 58 BC, and over the next 8 years subjugated all of Gaul to Roman rule. Described by Suetonius as unbridled and extravagant in his intrigues, Caesar was known to his soldiers as every man's woman and every woman's man. Oh, you see that? An early architect of imperial Rome, he was honored at the funeral services after his murder as the father of his country. He became dictator in 46 BC and was assassinated 2 years later. But you can find all kind of history on these weird people, these freaks. And that's a bust of Julius Caesar with that I forget what the leaf is called over his head. Anyway, when you go into the scriptures, it tells you about these devils, and this is their normal behavior. This is just hold on here. I'm gonna go to Deuteronomy 32:26, talking about the Israelites. It says, I said I would scatter them into corners. I will make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries, this term Satan is adversary, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely, and lest they should say, our hand is high, and the Lord hath not done all this. So the Lord said he would have completely made the remembrance of us to cease from among men for our iniquity. But he didn't want these devils saying that they think they were the ones that got rid of the 12 tribes. But he did scatter us among them. He goes on, for they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end. Talking about the Israelites. How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight, except their rock, capital R, which is another term for God, and their rock had sold them, and the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, had shut them up. For their rock, our enemies, their God, lowercase r, is not as our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges. For their vine, our enemies, for their vine is the vine of Sodom and of the fields of Gomorrah. What was Sodom and Gomorrah known for? Going after strange flesh, doing wicked acts, the alphabet 1, 2. For their vine is the vine of Sodom and of the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall, their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of dragons and the cruel venom of asps, which are serpents. You see? So the Lord said here in this chapter that their vine is the vine of Sodom. The vine is where you come from. It's in your nature. The grape comes off of a vine. Their beginning is of Sodom. They're naturally born freaks. All types of different things. And I'm not going to say the words, Lord willing, this will get past the algorithm, but you know how these devils do. I really wanted to title this Julius Caesar, every woman's husband and every man's wife, but I didn't title it that. But that's really what the quote is what the video is revolving around. This image made me think of that. And you got to know how dirty and nasty that is. If you're known as every woman's husband and every man's wife, meaning he's both, he go both ways. And on top of that, he has no restraint, which really already have no restraint if you do all that. He has no restraint. And that guy, Shia LaBeouf, whatever movie he's playing in, he portrays, it's going to be accurate to a certain extent. You already know that. You can see that when you look at the movie or the series, Spartacus, Blood and Sand. That's one. You see all types of shit going on there. And you see, man on man. But it goes back to the scriptures. For their vine is of the vine of Sodom and of the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall. Their clusters are bitter. Their wine, their policy, their doctrine, their philosophy is the poison of dragons and the cruel venom of asps. So they've been called as a dragon and a serpent right there in this scripture. You see? Now let's see if we can go to Jude. Because Sodom and Gomorrah, it was something else. You think it was because it was back then, you think that it was tame, but it wasn't. It was nasty as hell. It says, Jude 1 and 7, even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication, which is what? Inordinate sexual affection, such as adultery, bestiality, and adultery, bestiality, and homosexuality. Giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. And when you see the term eternal fire, Sodom and Gomorrah was burned up. But why does it say eternal fire? It ain't talking about hell. It was burned up. It was destroyed eternally. It's over with, right? That's what it is. Now, if we go real quick, let's go to the Good News Translation and read that verse. Let's get Jude 1, if we may. Jude 1. It's only one chapter. Verse 7. Remember Sodom and Gomorrah and the nearby towns, whose people acted as those angels did and indulged in sexual immorality and perversion, which that's a lie. The angels never did that. They suffered the punishment of eternal fire as a plain warning to all. They were doing sexual immorality and perversion over there. See? So these people come in like manner. Their vine is the vine of Sodom, and their fields are the fields of Gomorrah. This is who you're under now. As a matter of fact, Job said that he wouldn't even trust them around his animals because he knew what they would do. Let's go to it. Job 30:1. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision. The tables have turned. Job was an Israelite. Back during that time, they were on the bottom, right? They were looked down upon. And then but it says in the prophecy, when thou have the dominion, thou shalt take his yoke from off thy neck. That was said to Esau. So it was basically said that when you come into authority, when you have your rulership, your dominion on the earth, right? You're gonna be on top. You're gonna take the yoke of Jacob off of you. You're gonna be on top. And Job said it here. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. He was like, I wouldn't even have these devils around my animals. Because what would they do? They would do bestiality. They would do other things. And further than that, these devils is in their nature to commit certain acts because they were doing it to our people. This is Joel 3:1. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. See, the Israelites are currently scattered among all nations, and our land has been parted with, among heathen nations. Even the Savior spoke on that in Luke 21:24. Let's go there. 21:24. What did he say? He says, starting in verse 23, but woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land and wrath upon this people. What people? Upon the Israelites. What happened? The land got conquered. The Romans came in the siege of Jerusalem, 70 AD, and they besieged the place, right? Ransacked it, burned it, and they killed a lot of Israelites. And the others that were not killed, they were rounded up and sold into slavery. And then the Israelites also, many of them ran and escaped, but they were later gathered up by the Hamites and sold unto these people. Over here to this side of the world, it says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Both our homeland and us will be trodden down of the Gentiles, other nations, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And the last ruling place will be Rome. Let's go to it. In Daniel chapter 2, you see here, in that dream that king, I believe it was Nebuchadnezzar, had, and Daniel broke it down. The secret was revealed unto Daniel. It's the king's dream. And it says, interpretation, Babylon, the first kingdom. So he saw that great statue with the head of gold, the arms of brass, and all of that, silver. The breast was, the arms of silver, breast of brass, or however it was, said. And each one of them represented a major kingdom that would rule. Now it says, interpretation, Babylon, the first kingdom, right? Medo-Persia, that was the second kingdom. And then you had Greece. The Greece was the third kingdom. And then after that, you have Rome come right on that, right on the heels of that, which they really were the same people. Both were Edomites. But it says that fourth kingdom would be destroyed by the Lord, and then the kingdom of heaven would come, the divine kingdom. So right now, currently, we're in the Roman Empire still. You see, it came in two parts. The ancient pagan Roman Empire, then you had the revived Roman Empire came back into power around about the 1400s. That's when that this leg of the Roman Empire started. Now let's see here. Let's go back to Joel, and you can look all that up. It's all in history. I'm not gonna go all the way into it, but let's continue here reading. Now I'm gonna go back to Joel 3:2. I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Yahweh Shaphat. This is what World War III is going to be for, Armageddon. And I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. You see that? So they was said that our land would get divided and parted up and we would get cast off into all nations in captivity. The Lord said that. And they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for an harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. And this happened to us. Boys were sold as for harlots and girls, of course. You know, we were given up to different nations. The Hamites were selling us for musket guns and whiskey and different, things like that, selling us to these people. It says, yeah, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. And up here, Tyre and Zidon, that's Hamite nations. And they sold us to who? It says the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. And these Grecians were not the ancient Grecians, who were in fact Japhites, but these were Edomites who took over the land of the Grecians and put the name on themselves. If we go to, let's see where it is, Amos chapter 1, around about 6, I guess. I don't know for sure. Yeah, Amos 1 and 9. It says, thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4, which is Tyre and Zidon, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, and remember not the brotherly covenant. But I will send a fire on the wall of Tyrus, which shall devour the palaces thereof. See that? So they did in fact sell us to the damn Grecians who were Edomites. And these same Grecians, became the Roman Empire later, or they basically the same people. But after the Greeks, the Romans ruled. And you can find that in the scriptures, the Romans and the Greeks, but in the Apocrypha, it talks about the Greeks. And when you go into these movies, like I said, you see the same thing that you see. They show you with all those different empires, because this guy, Shia LaBeouf, whatever movie role, what is it? Megalopolis. It's going to be some Roman shit. You can see how he's dressed. But when you go back into those different movies you've seen over the years, when you watch that movie Troy, they were showing you back then during that Greek empire how they was. Now in the movie, Brad Pitt, who played in the movie Troy, Brad Pitt, who played Achilles, was a great fighter and warrior, right? Now in the movie, he had this cousin, whose name was Patroclus. And if you watch the movie, spoiler alert, Patroclus put on Achilles' armor one day, and he ran and jumped in the fight and got his damn throat cut. Now in the movie, they say Patroclus was his cousin, but in reality, Patroclus was his damn lover. Which these men would, oftentimes went both ways, because Brad Pitt did have a little slave in that movie that he took for his own, a little virgin slave he took, right? But we know that Patroclus was his damn lover. It wasn't his cousin. As a matter of fact, when you look it up here, Achilles and Patroclus, it says a relationship between Achilles and Patroclus is a key element of the stories associated with the Trojan War. Its exact nature, whether homosexual, a non-sexual deep friendship, or something else entirely, has been a subject of dispute in both the classical period and modern times. In the Iliad, Homer describes a deep and meaningful relationship between Achilles and Patroclus, where Achilles is tender towards Patroclus but callous and arrogant toward others. Homer never explicitly cast the two as lovers, but they were depicted as lovers in the archaic and classical periods of Greek literature, particularly in the works of Aeschylus, Aeschines, and Plato. These words are hard to say, right? So these they try to put a little doubt on it, but you look deep enough, you find that these men were lovers. They were not cousins. And then even when you go into the movie Alexander the Greek, there are scenes where Alexander, you see him right here kissing a dude, right there. That might be a woman in that one. But he used to always have, oh, you know what? No, I'm sorry. Was Alexander the Great gay? And the answer is, well, he was known as, we just say he did a lot of stuff. He went both ways. And there was a scene where he had this guy, and this dude basically got naked, and Alexander the Greek got naked, or he got in the bed, and then this dude took the little candle snuffer and put the candle out. This is one of his servants. He always had a little male servant around. You see, so Alexander the Greek was portrayed, as a mighty warrior, but at the same time, he was also portrayed as, he was doing a lot, going both ways and whatnot. So that's going back. They know the history. They know their history very well. And the Bible even tells, look at that. You see that? That's a dude over there to the right. And at the end, I guess, I don't know if Alexander the Greek died from syphilis or what. It was something. You have to check your facts, check the facts on that. Anyway, so going back to this, all of these different things, see, when you see these different images, sometimes I'll screenshot shit and it just make things go to my mind, and then I'll get to research, and that's how lessons get born. Going all the way back to Julius Caesar, what was said? He was every woman's husband, but every man's wife. You see? And think about the people that you're around here today in Babylon the Great. And Alexander the Greek, these people were real. We're literally in the Roman Empire right now, before the kingdom of heaven comes. We saw that in Daniel 2. This is First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. It says, and it happened that after Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth. And that was Alexander the Greek. If you jump down here, verse 7, you know what? Let's keep reading. It says, and he went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Right. And I don't know if his disease was syphilis. If you care to look it up, you can. I don't know. You know what? Let's do it real quick. Let's do it real quick. Okay, so they say, okay, well, this is what they going with. Alexander most likely died from malaria or typhoid fever, which were rampant in ancient Babylon. Yeah, okay, whatever. That's what they say. What Alexander said before he died, I don't care about what he said. Did Alexander the Great have a disease? Malaria. Alexander the Great bathed in the Euphrates River, which was infested by mosquitoes that carry malaria. And that may be true. Doesn't really matter. So, you heard what they said there. Yeah. I thought in that movie they said he died from syphilis, but I don't know. Malaria, we'll go with that. Either way, he was a damn Edomite, and he died from, what he died from. Doesn't matter. Still, at the end of the day, the dude was wicked. And it goes on, it says, verse 7, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. And his servants bare ruled everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. When these devils came in power, everything got turned upside down. And it says, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus or Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. You see? And you had a lot of Israelites that was getting down with them, joining up with them, just like you see today. Now, if you go to 2nd Esdras real quick, because these people were, the rule of the Roman Empire was said right here in Daniel 2, right here in Rome, right? What does it say? It says, and we want to just jump. Yeah, we'll start at the top. It says, and the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. And that's what the Roman Empire did. It says the fourth kingdom, right? Now down here at the bottom, the divine kingdom was going to come right on the heels of it. Daniel 2:44, and in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So here it says what? This would be the fourth kingdom, right? Let's go from there to Second Esdras. Damn it, I'm just knocking off the screens. We can bring them back up. It ain't no big deal. We're going to first go to Second Esdras, chapter 11. And let's give you something out of that. Come on now. All right. Second Esdras, chapter 11. Keep in mind that fourth kingdom. Second Esdras, chapter 11. Nope. We'll go down to a lot of verses around about 38. No, I'm sorry, 37. It says, I beheld, and lo, as it were, a roaring lion chased out of the wood. And I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle and said, so this is roaring lion is the lion from the tribe of Judah, which is Yahushua. This great eagle is the Roman Empire. And I beheld, and lo, as it were, a roaring lion chased out of the wood, and I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle and said, Hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, Art not thou it that remainest of the four beasts, the fourth kingdom, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? See? So we still in the Roman Empire. Now, this was talking about specifically the Roman Empire from back then, but we're still in it now because after this Roman Empire, the end would come. That would be the end of the world. Then the Savior comes. It showed you that in Daniel chapter 2. Let's go from this second Ezra. Let's get chapter 6 now, where we were. If we just looked at it, Daniel, Medo-Persia, Greece, then you had Rome. See? And after the Roman Empire is where the kingdom of heaven comes in. So who is it that's in authority over this last empire? We know back then the Romans were Edomites. You still got the same people now. This is Rome. Second Ezra 6 and 7. Then answered I and said, What should be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? When's the end of the world coming, and when's the kingdom coming? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So we know that today that Babylon the Great, which is in authority and rulership, is nothing more than modern day Rome, or spiritually Rome, as well as Babylon, spiritually Babylon. It's called Babylon the Great. It's spiritual Sodom and Egypt, but it's also spiritually Rome. And these are the same people from back then. These Edomites, these Romans, same folks, man. So America is spiritually Rome. You see that? Now again, and the apostles made sure to tell us when you use 2nd Ezra chapter 11, like I just read, that's talking about the Roman Empire, but we're still in it today. This is the revived Roman Empire. After that empire fell, and then it rose again. You know, it fell and they went into captivity for 1,000 years in the Dark Ages, and then they came out of that, and they began to rule again on the earth. That's why it's called revived. It was revived from death. It had a deadly wound that was healed. See? So now when they go into these movies and they show you this stuff, it goes back to their ancient ancestors and their civilization. And we playing the same role all over again, just like when the Lord was in captivity. Right? Let's get something real quick here. Let's go to John 11. See, we've been in captivity to these Romans up to this very day. It says John 11:47. Then answered the chief priests and the Pharisees of council and said, What do we? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. They was talking about Yahushua. Our people, the chief priests and Pharisees, they were wicked Israelites, was worried about the influence that Yahushua was having on the rest of the Israelites. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees of council and said, What do we? For this man doeth many miracles. And if we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. And the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. You see how far this thing go back? So our people were in captivity under the Romans back then. They went out of power during the Dark Ages, and they came back into authority, and they began to rule over the earth again, and they put us in captivity again. I mean, that shit go back a long ways, brothers. This is we still in that damn Roman Empire. We came out of it for a while, but the Lord put us back under these damn devils, man. And we came over here, and we've been in slavery ever since. So we currently waiting for the Lord to come back, the cornerstone, to crush these damn toes in the powder and to get us out of this damn captivity. So without a doubt, America is spiritually Rome.